Donc, bonjour tout le monde. On vous laisse une minute, le temps que tout le monde soit accepté dans la salle. Donc, je pense qu'on peut commencer. Alors, encore une fois, bonjour à tous. Pour ceux qui ne me connaissent pas, je suis Emmanuelle Toussaint, la nouvelle directrice générale de Bio-Québec. Je sais que Bio-Québec fait des cafés croissants depuis quand même un bon bout de temps, mais de mon côté, c'est mon premier. Alors, je suis vraiment contente de me joindre à vous ce matin. Today, I'm really happy to have the representative of Paraza Pharma with us as one of our members. And Paraza Pharma, qui est une entreprise novatrice qui vise à améliorer l'efficacité du processus de découverte des médicaments. C'est une entreprise qui a été fondée en 2011, qui compte maintenant une équipe de 200 personnes, de plus de 200 personnes même, principalement composée de scientifiques et également de personnel de soutien, qui collaborent avec plusieurs organisations pour leurs travaux de recherche et développement. And as many companies that goes through different phases of their evolution, Paraza met some challenges, différents défis qu'elle a dû surmonter pour continuer à croître. Et aujourd'hui, les représentants de Paraza Pharma vont discuter de ces obstacles et aussi de la façon dont ils ont surmonté certains d'entre eux et comment ils solutionnent d'autres de ces enjeux-là. Alors, juste avant de commencer, concernant le format des cafés croissants, on débute avec une présentation de nos invités et par la suite, ça va être vraiment avec les caméras ouvertes pour la période de questions. Alors, on souhaite que les cafés croissants soient vraiment interactifs. C'est une des raisons principales, c'est d'échanger, de pouvoir mieux se connaître, de pouvoir poser des questions et de réseauter. Alors, la première partie, ça va être une présentation. The presentation will be done mainly by Arshad Siddiqui, so the CEO of Paraza Pharma. And it will be done in English, but if ever you have any question at the end, it can be both in French or in English, and we can help to translate if the question is for Dr. Siddiqui. So just before to start, I would like to say a few words about our the invitee today. So Dr. Siddiqui founded Paraza Pharma and has held a senior level position in companies such as Shire Biochem Pharma, Neogenesis Pharmaceutical, Skering Plug Corporation, and Merck. And Dr. Siddiqui has a PhD degree in organic chemistry at the University of Waterloo and has been a co-recipient of the Prix Galien for the discovery of Epivir, as well as other prizes like the Prix Genesis, and is also a University of Waterloo Distinguished Alumni Award. Very impressive. He is an inventor of 81 patents and co-author 70 research papers. So welcome, Arshad. And also today, we have Brigitte Mackay, qui est la vice-présidente ressources humaines et gestion de talent. Donc, Madame Mackay cumule plus de 20 ans d'expérience dans le secteur des ressources humaines et elle s'est jointe à Paraza Pharma en 2019 et auparavant, elle a été responsable de la formation et du perfectionnement chez Nestlé Skin Health. Et elle a travaillé et élaboré plusieurs solutions innovatrices dans le domaine des ressources humaines, et pour mettre aussi de l'avant différentes stratégies d'entreprise. Donc, elle a un baccalauréat de l'Université de Montréal en économie et ressources humaines. Et elle était également membre de l'Ordre des conseillers en ressources humaines agréés du Québec. Et on a également aujourd'hui le docteur Larrivé, donc Alexandre Larrivé, qui s'est joint à Paraza Pharma en 2011. Il a également travaillé chez Merck Frost comme scientifique principal. Donc, Alexandre a 11 années d'expérience dans le secteur pharmaceutique. Il a dirigé plusieurs programmes de recherche pharmaceutique, notamment dans les domaines de l'oncologie, de l'inflammation, système nerveux central. Donc, il a vraiment une très grande connaissance au niveau de la chimie et il est titulaire d'un doctorat en chimie organique de l'Université de Montréal. So welcome, everybody. Really happy to host you today. And Dr. Siddiqui will present, and Brigitte and Alexandre will also join Dr. Siddiqui, mainly for the question period. So, Arshad, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you for introduction. First of all, I see few familiar faces. Micheline, great to see you there. She's one of the early one at Paraza. And Laurent, I see him too. Hello, Laurent. So let me start my presentation. I'll try to be in 30 minutes, okay? Stylistically, I'm not a very formal guy, so I will just go the way I go. So let me share my slides. You can see my first slide. I assume you can.
Yes, you can.
All right. So my intent today is to give you a sense on how you started Paraza, how did it happen so far, and where we're going. So the slide deck, about 13 slides, is split into like 3 sections. First 4 slides will be just before Paraza, how the sort of things were in terms of starting something. And then the journey of Paraza, that will take you through a few more slides in different stages. And then I will summarize essentially some of the lessons, and certainly we'll be happy to answer any question. So can you hear me okay? I assume you can.
Yes,
all right. A very, very important item is entrepreneurship and idea. Me, as a scientist, as a trained scientist, still a scientist, even though I run a business, the fundamental to entrepreneurship, there are few things. My hope is I can send, whoever wish to get some idea on entrepreneurship, I can at least share my experience here. So the fundamental to entrepreneurship is the very intense desire to do something with consequence. In English, they call it fire in the belly approach. That a lot of time you have it or you don't have it. Entrepreneurship is, which is called business, is not about making money. It's about having a mission and trying to get to it. Money is a byproduct of what happens, okay? And one of the very important items in entrepreneurship or trying to make anything successful is your experience, your network, and also another very important thing is timing. It's very hard to predict, but this is how it works out, and this is what my experience has been. Now, just very quickly about me. Before starting Paraza, I had about 22 years experience, about 11 years in Montreal, similar number of years in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is Boston. And the whole idea of really the catalyst for starting Paraza came from when as a part of Sharing Cloud, where I used to be one of the scientists, there was a merger between market and sharing. At that time, I decided that I'm kind of done with the employment part of it and too much M&As. So I want to do something new and different. That was around 2009. That was again Cambridge, Massachusetts. So while that idea occurred, I was thinking what to do. Obviously, there were multiple ideas. One of the ideas also included that taking some assets, some of the projects where I worked in, trying to get them out of Merck and leverage that into a biotech company. That was one of the ideas. Obviously, did not pursue. After a lot of thought, a lot of soul searching, finalized the idea of starting Paraza Pharma. And the Paraza Pharma was registered in Quebec, which is Montreal, Canada, on February 7, 2011. So my last day of work at Merck was December 31st, 2010. So exactly 37 days after I left my job. Now, before you start any company, you have to rely on your experiences, what you had, also have some sense of the area where you're starting your organization. That means you need to understand the marketplace. So in my case, I was in Boston for 10 years, approximately. I had a fair understanding of the market where Paraza will be operating in. So let me give you a little sense on that. So in terms of drug discovery services, it's about $50 billion market. It's a global market. And a lot of drug companies, that includes large, small, just starting companies, they utilize basically emerging markets, which means really primarily Asia for R&D services. And why that happens, the reason is that significant cost saving, obviously flexibility of resourcing, and nobody wants to do fixed costs, especially US companies, because the way things are structured there. However, our area, it is unlike IT area, is that it does require, drug discovery science requires really highly trained. A lot of time, qualification is minimum master's, a lot of times PhD, and what it requires highly trained, experienced scientific professionals to get that going, and that is really absolutely critical. Now, just a little bit about Asia. Asia is obviously has a very large pool of scientific staff, and also Asia also has, as emerging markets, a lot of hunger and desire to succeed. Asian companies tend to be very, very good at execution. This is my experience because I did work with many of them in past, and they really do excellent job in terms of executing on the project. However, some gaps exist in terms of innovation, but I have to say all that is changing also. So this is very important to understand that marketplace continue to evolve and change. So one needs to be very much aware of the fact. So at the time before, or while thinking about Paraza, I realized that there are serious gaps exist in the marketplace where highly innovative drug discovery organization can fill the gap. Now, organization has to be differentiated, and this is the meaning is obviously different to different folks. In our case was scientifically, highly scientific organization. It also needs to be innovative organization. And that has to be very close to the primary market. That means United States of America. So this is what we thought where Paraza can come in and make the difference. So this was the analysis before starting the company. Now, a little bit about what happened. Sorry. Okay. Now, the question arose in my mind that where to start this company. Place could be Boston, where I lived. Place could be Montreal, Canada, where I used to live. So just let me give you a little sense on opportunity analysis in 2010. That was my sense of it. So having the experience of working in Montreal, Canada, what I knew for a fact that Canada and Quebec has one of the most well-trained research professionals in the world. This I knew personally because I did work in this space before. And also I knew, I'm sure you all know, that a lot of pharma biotechs have leveraged the talent of Canada, Quebec to discover a lot of medicines. I was part of one of them, 3TC, not myself alone, with the team, and drugs like Montelukast, Vioxx, so a lot of great medicines came from this place, Montreal. So certainly that experience was there. However, unfortunately, post-recession, that was 2008, and 2010, 2012, a lot of organizations, including Merck, Frost, AstraZeneca, Boehringer Ingelheim, they were closing the doors of their R&D centers in Montreal. And that was certainly very unfortunate for these very well-trained, highly intelligent folks. So at that time, that was around 2009 to around 10 timeframe, a lot of folks were available. These are highly trained professionals. Certainly they're looking for opportunities to contribute and grow. There's a few options they had. One option is they can all move to the United States. I did myself. But for a lot of folks, that's not an option. In my mind, Quebec, Canada offers amazing place to be professionally, personally. So my sense was that a lot of Canadians, Quebecers like to stay in Quebec. So thinking I had is that can one leverage that? And then there's one little slide, which is a lot of people say land of opportunities, United States of America. In my sense, at that time, I thought Quebec, Montreal is a land of opportunity. say this lady is coming through the border, this is the place where you need to be. So that was the sense of where the company needs to be. Now, before I begin on the journey, I wanted to give you a sense of, to start any organization, one needs to have a certain fundamental things as to when you're going to start something. You need to have certain principles. I call it foundational principles. You more or less live by them. And these are more as a guidelines, things do evolve also. First of all, one must trust himself or herself. Because in the day, whatever you're trying to do, if you don't believe yourself, nobody else will believe it. That is the basics of it. And also, another very important thing, you need to be a human being, a regular human being, cannot be on any different tangent. Needs to be a normal person as everyone else, and then you will sense the reality much better. Other thing, at least in my sense, was that because I worked in 4 different companies before. Every company I worked in went through M&A. So my sense was that if one wants to start a venture, a company, that needs to be a little longer term. That allows people a sense of stability, that allows people to build their careers. And also, moreover, for an entrepreneur, a business guy, it also allows for independent decision-making. Decision-making where you want to take your organization. Also, another very important ingredient was that only hire the best and the smartest people. The ones who are great human beings. This is another very, very important. Another item which is absolutely essential is that we need to be really the top at our game. It means in drug discovery science, what we're planning to do through Paraza, we must do the best possible science we can accomplish. I mean, not in Canada sense, I mean in a global sense. Canada obviously is very top of the game. Other very important item for any organization, yes, people like to work in organization where culture is wonderful. Culture is driven by respect for every single individual. I don't take it, I see it extremely, extremely important item in any organization. Our organization, we do believe in that. On top, we also wanted to go through organic growth. What we didn't want to do is set artificial milestones. For example, we're going to, by that year, we're going to do this. By the year, yes, we do have some ideas as to what we're going to do, but at the same time, organic growth really helps you to keep yourself into a realistic realm. On top, also remain entrepreneurial means, yes, you do make plans, but at the same time remain flexible and opportunistic. And that is important. And for Paraza, that's exactly how we did. And also on top, another very important ingredient is work very, very hard, because nothing comes easy. You need to really work at it. But at the same time, also not to forget, there's a little bit fun in life, so let's have fun too. So these were the basically fundamentals of the organization before we started. This is what we stuck with it. This is what we still stick with it. So these 4 slides hopefully give you a fairly good sense as to how we got, before we began, what we were thinking about. Now, a little bit about, so as I said, we started February 7, 2011. And let me tell you what the early challenges and opportunities were. We started in a place called CQIB. I don't know how many of you may know. This is an incubator space in Laval. This is Institut Armand Farpier space. This is where I started my first job, May 1st, 1990, 32 years ago, with Bioinforma. So for me, it was a bit of homecoming in that area. And they had a modest infrastructure and was very available. We thought that would be the place where we want to be. And Michelin Beauvais, whom I see there, she was in there with us too, which is wonderful to see her here. So obviously, so our goal was to really start with something very small. So we started with very limited capital. It all was personal fund, about 100K. But more importantly, yes, you can have a capital, you can have some infrastructure, but most important thing is that in this particular space where we are in, we need to make sure that client partners really, know why you can do the job, what you're trying to tell them you can do the job. And obviously, I was at the road in Boston trying to convince folks that indeed we can. The typical success rate is about 1% in the marketing game. So at least in our area, and we tried, and we actually certainly succeeded. Let's see a comment here. Okay, good. Thank you. So also we try to look for an early stage of non-dilutive funding from the government sources. Unfortunately, we're not successful, but that is fine. And what my little note to folks, anyone who's starting an organization at early stage, every dollar matters. Even $2 matter, $1 matters. So little money can go a long way, especially in the early days of any organization just starting. And that was true in our case too, but that is fine. We were kind of committed to do what we wanted to do. But with the funds we have, we wanted to make sure the operation is managed well. That the limited funds means we had things we need to do our operation. In our case, it was a chemistry company to begin with, so we need the consumable reagents. Obviously, rents have to be paid and salaries have to be paid. Obviously, the workforce was not that large. Let me see. Okay. So what happened after a lot of going back and forth, Boston, Montreal, and talking to a lot of folks in Boston area, many folks I knew myself personally, we managed to convince one company that yes, we can, they will be happy to work with us. And essentially exactly close to over 6 months, we had our first partnership, August 1st, 2011. And then we hired our first employee. I am not the first employee, by the way. I'm employee number 10. Michelin knows that. I was on a payroll when employee number 10 was 9 employees have to go by, because you really got to make sure that you want to get going with the operation. And Alex came to the lab. It was 500 square feet lab, 2 fume hoods. It's a chemistry lab. And he said, Arshad, there's nothing in the lab. We should try to get some stuff. So Alex, you want to tell your story in French a little bit and to give a realistic sense of what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Ouais. C'était un moment de grande intensité, autant dans ma carrière que pour Paraza. On est arrivé, je suis arrivé dans le labo, c'était vide. On avait notre première collaboration qui commençait à l'intérieur de 2 semaines. Il fallait équiper tout le labo. Puis nos premiers clients nous avaient mis en compétition avec un autre CRO pour lequel il offrait le même service. Donc, on avait 6 mois pour... au bout de 6 mois, il gardait seulement qu'un des deux service providers. Alors, ouais, ça a été tout un challenge d'équiper le labo à l'intérieur de 2 semaines, peut-être opérationnel, d'avoir des résultats dès le départ, dans les premières semaines. You can keep going, Arshad.
Okay, very good. So that's fantastic, Alex. Yeah. I mean, certainly Alex is the man who got us going, and another person who came 15 years after, Jean-Philippe Leclerc. Initially, my goal was to only hire Quebecers because I knew that Quebec, I had such a great experience with working with a lot of folks in Quebec. So then I met in the very CQIB, the first time I see, I did not expect to see Michelin. You today, but fantastic, I see you. So Michelin was there too, and Michelin came by, knocked the door. I was sitting, pretending to be a CEO. And she said, Arshad, well, maybe I can help you with finance. I said, Michelin, that's fantastic. I know nothing about finance. Neither I cannot enter anything in any entry. So there she was, and honestly, was so fortunate to have Michelin. Michelin, this is fantastic. And this is another thing, lucky break. I really have to say this one. And Michelin was responsible for making me aware there was a potential inventory of a defunct company, which we can potentially buy. And we managed to put together a nice proposal of 65,000 out of the capital of 100K. Just imagine, this is like all of your money you have. But we're bold enough. We got some help from friends, and that very company inventory really got us going. And Alex certainly was very happy. He thought it was a Christmas every day, more or less. So Jean-Philippe, and they got going. So honestly, this was a lucky break. And sometimes you do need lucky breaks in life, you know. And you need the right people, connected people like Michelin, who can make you aware of that too. This is just great. Okay, so basically from August till December, we managed to go from 2 to 5 employees. Believe it or not, out of 5 employees, by end of 2011, still we have 4. The 5th one, Anna Losoa, she wanted to become a teacher. She's doing a teaching in Ontario, but we are fortunate to have all our elderly gentlemen. Sorry, they're pretty young actually. So this is, and also Michelin, we did have a positive cash flow. This is a good thing. A scientist realizing money is so important, and Michelin taught me a lot of things, I have to say. All right, now obviously I was on the road trying to convince everybody how great we are, and I did believe that we're great. We have wonderful folks around us. So this persistent networking and great science led to second partnership. Obviously, we had more folks. Towards the end of 2012, we grew to 12 people. That was all in CQID. And remember, this was from 0 to 12 in about a year and a half. So things were going well, seems like. And that was all not because of me. It was because of people we hired, people around us. So this was just great. I thought the journey was in a great direction. So in anticipation of further growth, where do we go? We needed more space. Unfortunately, CQID is certainly an organization where companies come, they graduate, we want to graduate. Then where do we go? So my friend Sultan Ahmed, who's right there, and also now he's a chief business officer. He was at AstraZeneca. He made me aware that AstraZeneca ex-employees are starting something called NeoMed Institute. That was around 2012. So things close, but when things close, people get out of that, do an even better job. So they started something called NeoMed Institute, and that was wonderful. They were looking for folks to come in there to do something with this. They had a lot of space. They had a lot of opportunity to grow. So we got this space there, and we basically went to NeoMed, which is now called Entendez, by the way. As of March 1st, 2013, we started our operation there. Again, Michelin stayed with us for quite a while and kept us real too about how to manage money. So here's the story about 3 years, from 2012 to 2015. NeoMed at Mare was really a good place for us to grow. We grew. Our goal was to really continue on the path to become a fully integrated drug discovery organization. What it means is that we did start with as a medicinal chemistry organization where we refine and optimize drugs. That was started from the beginning. Then we added in that very building a drug metabolism group in 2013. And then we also started a biology group in 2015. So 2013 to 2015, we grew from 13 folks to 63. Just imagine, this was all done with the effort of everyone we hired, and we hired some great folks. So I feel so proud and so content seeing all this. And again, Michelin was there to making sure things continued on the right path financially too. It was all very cool. So again, it's all organic growth. There's nothing from outside. We did continue with our foundational approach. As I said, hire best and brightest folks, do the top science, and the company has to be a human company, people company. It's not one person who runs it, everyone runs the company. And the approach I had was that everyone reported to me, and I was kind of So it's very, very flat organization too. So obviously at some point we outgrew Neomed too, and Neomed certainly wanted to have more organization there. This is fair. So we figured that we needed more space as our journey was going in the right direction. And then we made a bold move to purchase an empty building across from where Neomed and Mara is at 2525 Mary Curie. And that provided us additional space, about 50 to 70 folks. And we did get great help from BDC. I have to say, I have to thank them too. The timing was right. I think we made the right move. And certainly again, Canadian organization came to help. This is wonderful. Again, what I say is that a lot of folks talk about the United States. I talk about Canada a lot of times, how you can do things well here too. So now that was 2015. So we continue to have good growth trajectory. Now we had a footprint at Murrah Neomed. We call it Frederick Banting. Paraza science approach was going well. Another interesting event happened at that time. As Boehringer Ingelheim closed, they had their large inventory available. So we figured that, well, this is a great opportunity. We can get discounted, undiscounted pricing, a lot of equipment, and we did get a lot of equipment. And that really helped to grow the biology and DMP capability. So again, this is being opportunistic. This being really, really, trying to figure out things, whatever is available. So what happened in that year, 2016 to 2018, this really saw phenomenal growth of the company. That's 3 years. We grew in 2016 to 83 employees, about 32% growth. 17 was a little modest year, 91 employees to 10%. And 2018, we grew to 130 employees, 43% growth. And again, at that time, we were doing extremely well as an organization. Remember, this is all organic growth, no capital from outside. So 3 years also saw a further addition of excellent professionals. We hired a lot of great folks during that time too. I myself was managing BD, science for sure. I'm a scientist, so I'm natural at it, and recruitment part too. Obviously, with that kind of growth and growth on the horizon, it was really important that we needed to make some decisions. So we thought we should get obviously HR, human resource, as well as business development functional heads. And as we saw with the growth, we never thought we would ever fill up the Mary Curie site. To my amazement, we did. Okay. And that site was almost full, which we bought. So what did we do? So Paraza, obviously, in a marketplace, is becoming a highly credible scientific organization of choice for our client partners. And that was a good news, obviously, for us. So obviously then came 2019 and 21. We continued on our trusted path, which I outlined in earlier slides. The growth cannot happen if you don't have a certain help in certain areas. Somebody like me was a science-driven person, so sure I know science, but human resource and all the stuff was, we're becoming a reasonable sized company. So we were fortunate to hire a head of HR in Bridget McKay, obviously excellent addition. I thought I could do HR, but obviously I was a little kid compared to what she does. So Bridget, you want to say a few things? I know you showed up in this company and you had some interesting observations early on. Go for it.
Ouais, je vais le dire en français. En fait, avec le recul, je peux dire que ça a été le plus beau challenge RH de ma carrière. Donc, mettre sur pied la fonction RH à un moment où on vivait une croissance soutenue, suivie d'une pandémie. Et puis, je pense que la clé du succès pour nous, ça a été vraiment de tout construire, incluant notre leadership, axé sur nos employés. Donc, toujours en respectant les valeurs de Paraza, qui est notre culture d'entreprise, qui est vraiment centrée sur nos employés. C'est ce qui nous a permis de connaître une croissance soutenue, incluant pendant la pandémie. Ça a dicté nos actions aussi et nos décisions dans les moments plus challenging des dernières années. Et puis, je pense que c'est la clé de notre succès. Donc, c'est un travail d'équipe, c'est beaucoup de collaboration. Et puis, c'est vraiment un plaisir d'être à la tête de cette fonction. Back to you, Rashad.
All right, very good. Thank you. And then again, as I said, that we were outgrowing even Mary Curie site, which we bought. The building was 22,000 square feet. There was 70 folks. We filled it up. And then we needed another space where we could go further. So we leased space in the company where I used to work way back as Biochem Pharma. And we now have 35,000 square feet approximately in Laval, which accommodates close to 70 to 90 folks. That's again full two, more or less. So this is where we moved our biology group to, and with a significant chemistry group. Now, but unfortunately, during all that time, as you all know, the COVID hit. That was March 2020, and that was a really a biggest challenge to everyone in every way. Paraza, though, managed to weather the crisis in a really incredible way. Everyone came together. The folks, you know, all the needs were fulfilled. We continue to operate yet. And I have to say, I always say this about our folks, is that this is an incredibly resilient team. COVID taught us that we can still stay together, do extremely well, yet be able to go through any challenge. It was not easy, but we made it. So certainly was fantastic. Now, despite all that, Paraza still grew. 19, obviously not the COVID, we grew 10%. 2020, which was COVID year, we grew 17%. We became 168 employees. By 21, we were 190 employees, about 13% growth. So that tells you that if you have a commitment to do something, you can. And so that was until last year. Now, I'll give you a little sense on where we stand this year. So essentially this year was basically, as I said, Paraza remains a highly reliable and credible organization with our partners. We hear that all the time. So some of the challenges I want to highlight, and this is really important. In a growing company, you really want to hire more folks. You want to hire best folks. So scientific talent, hiring scientific talent remains a big challenge, especially for international candidates. I'm sure every single company in Montreal can say that. That's a big issue. If you're trying to hire folks from outside, I know that we hire a lot from Quebec, a lot from Canada, but again, pool is small, and a growing company like ours need to have folks, bright folks from all over the world. So for example, in the case of international candidates, it may take up to 60 weeks to get a work visa, which is really not very acceptable. It's very difficult to plan for growth. Now, also what we did during this year is that we have now put together a really excellent top-tier executive team for the next phase of growth. So we recently hired our chief scientific officer, who's an MIT-trained excellent man from California. I know a lot of folks say people go down. We're trying to hire people from the US up here. So that's a different approach. I think the company is great. People like to work here. We also have now Sultan Ahmed as our CBO, Jean-Marc, which Michelin helped me hire this guy. He's a really fantastic CFO and great man. Thank you, Michelin. Again, another gift. This is great. And then Bridget as a head of HR, and Serge Lamont, who's our vice president of alliance management. Together with them and the entire team, we're ready for the next challenge. So one other thing I will say, challenge of the year 2022, because we were in COVID mode, was bringing life to a normal rhythm. So obviously certain steps had to be taken. We did. Seems like things are coming back to normal. Hopefully they remain normal. That's what we hope and wish. Now this year, a little bit of scorecard for you. Paraza workforce currently stands about 220. It changes every month. I'm sure it's more than 220. And Paraza is not ready for the next phase of growth. Let me, in the last slide, I just want to show you what we're planning to do in the next 3 years, 23 to 25. We have a plan in place. Obviously cannot talk about the details, but we have everything ready. We're planning for annual growth of 20%. We say that. It doesn't mean, again, we're flexible. If it is 30, we'll take it. If it is 17, we'll take it too. Our goal is to add 150 new jobs in the next 3 years. This is going to add huge to Quebec, Canadian economy. These are highly paying jobs. Company will remain an organic growth company, that's for sure. We'll continue with the current business model because we believe the business model works. The challenges, obviously space remains a major challenge to accommodate the growth. We're talking about 350 to 400 folks. That's not a small number of folks. So right now we have 70,000 square feet space. We're hoping to get somewhere between 100,000 to 120,000 square feet total space, hopefully one space. But again, we're working on it. I'm sure we're going to get there. Obviously, timely recruitment of folks is also very, very essential for us. Also, the mission, always remain a company which has human values, respect for individuals. Everyone should be feeling this is their own company, this is how we work. We want to ensure Paraza remains a place where people like to work. We're building Paraza into a globally recognized company. It's not to say we're not globally recognized, but we want to continue on the path. We believe we have a great recipe which can take us into a really excellent directions. Now, a little bit about summary. This is for the folks, those who are starting organization or in some process of there. So my sense, this is my few take-home messages for folks here. So first of all, you must have a clear idea of the mission, why you want to do certain things and where you want to head. And this has to be super clear in the minds of person who's wanting to do it. Also, the most important thing, you need full personal commitment to the mission. And when I say that, I mean it too. If you have to drive 500 kilometers Boston to Montreal every week and go back every week, 10 years after, 12 years after, you do that. This is what is needed. You just never say it's enough. Okay, you just keep on. Remember, challenges are opportunities. Challenges, it's super important to understand that challenges will happen, and this is the job of good entrepreneurs to convert them to opportunities. This is the thing. Always have a long-term view. I know everybody wants to make quick money. We're not into that game. We want to develop a business which can be a highly valuable business over the period of time. Okay. Also, another very important lesson is great teams make great companies. It's never one CEO, it's never one CFO, CSO, it's never the executive team, it's everyone together. We believe in it, everyone in Paraza believes in it. We have different functions to serve, but everybody who is part of the organization will make the company work. This is super important to understand. Obviously, things will change along the way. We must be ready to adjust to new realities and also have a long-term horizon. Short term, yeah, things will come, we'll get worried, but things get resolved over the period of time. And also have fun in what you do. If you're not having that, you can have a high blood pressure, you get all kinds of diseases fast. So just really have fun because you like what you do, you'll be fine. I think this is the last slide. I'm ready for questions and comments for my colleagues here. Thank you very much for participation.
So thank you, Arshad. It has been extremely instructive, and also it's so great to see all the importance you're giving to the human aspect, because we can see it, but doing it is quite different. Also, this advice, of being surrounded by smart people, I think it's extremely useful, but not only smart people, also people with human value. So with the heart, I think that we can all learn from that. And also one of the sentence that I'm you know, that I will keep for myself is challenges are opportunity. So, you know, just seeing how Paraza Pharma has been created at the timing that it happened, you know, it's always good. So just before to go to the question period, I saw that Alexandre, you raised your hand. Did you want to add something? No?
No, it was applause.
OK. Very good, then. Donc, j'invite tout le monde maintenant à ouvrir leur caméra. Comme je disais au tout début, un des objectifs avec les cafés croissants, c'est de s'assurer qu'on connecte ensemble, donc qu'on peut se rapprocher. Si vous avez des questions, simplement levez la main. Je vais vous donner la parole à tour de rôle et évidemment ouvrir votre micro, mais on préfère que ce soit encore une fois des questions qui soient posées de vive voix plutôt que d'écrire dans le chat. Alors, vous pouvez poser vos questions dans la langue de votre choix, encore une fois. Donc, est-ce que il y a quelqu'un qui a une première question? Okay, so if there's no question, I have one for you, Arshad. So you mentioned during your presentation that you had a very extremely limited capital when you started Paraza, and also we have seen the fantastic growth that you had over the years. And even at the end of your presentation, you mentioned that your target is to have an annual growth of 20%. So I'm curious, have you received any outside funding to sustain your continued growth?
Yeah. So no, good question. Thank you. Yeah. So the philosophically, I said from the very beginning, I mean, Alex knows this and Michelle knows this. So our approach was that we will be like a prospector in a new land where there's nothing there. You dig your own well, drink your own water. It will require a lot of hard work. So we continued that approach. Capital-wise, we felt that with the revenue stream we have, we can manage our growth. What we didn't want to do is because in a capital, you can grow fast and you can typically come down fast too. Mm-hmm. So our thinking was that we will go with a steady pace. So we figured that optimum is, you know, the revenue stream we had, the growth we had in mind. I think that kept the pace of the growth. So we don't want to go too fast. We want to remain like a certain steady pace. So we honestly did not require capital. We do believe we still do not require capital, but I have to tell you this, that there's a lot of folks wanting to give us a lot of capital. We're probably the only company that we don't need money right now.
Okay, thank you. And I see in the chat that we have a question from Denis Coupal from National. So Denis, if you want to open your mic.
Yes, certainly. Hi, do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Oh, great. Well, my question's a little bit about your image. I mean, I really enjoyed hearing the passionate discussion as far as being an entrepreneur and everything you've done, and as a team as well, coming together as a strong team. It really is wonderful to hear underlying the key elements that it takes for entrepreneurship to be successful. Let me ask you though, do you feel you're in terms of your image? See, I work for national public relations, so I'm concerned with image and perception. And I'm wondering if yourself, you are feeling that the company is recognized for all that passion and entrepreneurship. Do you think that its image is well perceived as that?
So let me, well, thank you, Dennis. So image, I mean, I know that you are in a slightly different area, but as a scientific way of thinking is that image is what you do, okay? So I think our science has taken us to the level where we get a lot of solicitations from all kinds of folks, especially financial folks, okay? Based on my survey from those folks, what we say is that we in a marketplace perhaps have a very, very high credible image, a company to go to. One good example is that we do not do too much BD, yet people really line up to work with us. So that's a part of the image. I mean, I'm not boasting this. What I'm telling you, this is a reality. And we don't have to work very hard to go and get all these partnerships. In fact, we have to sometimes tell people we're not ready for 12, we're ready for 2013 to work with. Sorry, 2023, excuse me, yeah.
Sure.
So that's a part of the image. If you call it image, We try not to, I mean, yes, we want to be known. We believe that your work, your foundational principles, your work, your science, top level science, what you really feel passionate about will take you very far. That's really the basics of it. We always said, you know, don't need to worry about anything else, just do great science, you'll be fine. This is what my saying is always to our people. And I do believe that deep inside myself too.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Denis. If anyone has any question, you can either write in the chat that you have a question or just raise your hand. But in the meantime, Brigitte, vous avez mentionné tout à l'heure toute l'importance sur le travail d'équipe, la collaboration. J'aimerais savoir comment est-ce que vous avez surmonté les défis liés au recrutement pendant ces années-là avec en plus une croissance qui a été constante, puis avec maintenant la pénurie de main-d'œuvre qui affecte tout le monde. Donc, de quelle façon est-ce que vous avez surmonté ces défis-là?
Je pense que ça a été la force de Paraza, ça a été d'être capable de lire le marché puis de s'adapter au travers des années. Donc, comme Arshad l'a mentionné au début, l'embauche a été vraiment locale parce qu'il y avait des très bons talents locaux au niveau PhD, maîtrise en sciences. Mais avec la croissance de Paraza, ça, c'est devenu plus difficile. Et puis, on a eu une phase où on embauchait encore au Canada, mais beaucoup de gradués des universités qui pouvaient être des étudiants internationaux qui avaient un plan de travail ouvert. Et puis, on s'est adapté, on s'est assuré de faire une bonne intégration, de donner des services comme la francisation, accès à la francisation. Définitivement, au niveau de l'embauche scientifique, depuis 2020, ça a commencé en 2020, mais l'année passée, c'est vraiment une embauche internationale qu'on fait. Et on a dû se repositionner au niveau de notre recrutement, notre façon de recruter, tout ce qu'on appellerait l'expérience candidat, c'est-à-dire s'assurer que le candidat, à travers le processus, a une expérience agréable et connaît mieux l'entreprise. On a dû aussi s'adapter à la différente réalité qui étaient les entrevues Zoom. Donc, avant la pandémie, on faisait à peu près tout en présentiel. Les candidats venaient, quitte à ce que ce soit quelques jours, pour faire les entrevues en présentiel à l'entreprise. Donc, comment bien donner une image vraie de la culture d'entreprise, des valeurs de l'entreprise aux chercheurs potentiels, leur parler de la vie, leur parler de la vie ici. Et puis, qu'est-ce qu'ils pourraient vivre chez nous si on leur faisait une offre qu'ils acceptaient. C'est devenu quelque chose de très important. Puis, on a revu tout notre processus de recrutement pour pouvoir mieux refléter ça. De notre côté, on a aussi revu tout notre processus d'accueil et intégration pour s'assurer qu'une fois que nos employés arrivent chez nous, qu'ils se sentent pris en charge, qu'ils se sentent accompagnés, qu'ils ne soient pas laissés à eux-mêmes. On leur demande après un mois, en fait, qu'est-ce qu'ils en pensent, s'ils ont des suggestions à nous faire. On fait un check après 3 mois. Ils ont ce qu'on appellerait un buddy là, ou un mentor avec eux. Et puis ça, c'est très important, même dans le cadre de pénurie de main-d'œuvre, parce que beaucoup des embauches qu'on fait, en fait, c'est des références d'employés, de chercheurs avec qui ils ont travaillé, qui aimeraient référer pour des postes chez nous.
C'est vraiment intéressant cette partie-là aussi d'intégration parce que surtout dans un contexte, là, dans le contexte qu'on est depuis quelque temps, je pense que il y a beaucoup de mouvements de main-d'œuvre et tout, puis il y a plusieurs personnes qui quittent peu de temps après avoir joint des organisations, donc de les intégrer puis de vraiment s'assurer qu'ils vont rester là, et que ça correspond bien à leurs attentes et qu'ils comprennent bien aussi la culture d'entreprise. Je pense que c'est une des grandes leçons qu'on a là, depuis les 2 ou 3 dernières années. Ouais. Merci. Alors, je vois qu'on a 2 questions. Donc, Patricia Laplante en premier. Peut-être simplement dire avec quelle organisation vous êtes.
Oui, bonjour. Je suis avec Amorchem Thérapeutique. So good morning, Arshad. First of all, I want to say what a great success story. It was really nice to hear all the different changes that you went through since 2011. And so congrats and how you were able to retain talent in Quebec, because I used to be a former employee at AstraZeneca. So therefore, as you were going all through the timings of Merck, Astra, Boehringer, it does hit home. But it's nice to see that you've been able to retain and that you've grown, because initially, as you mentioned, you were in chemistry, but then you grew into DNPK. And I'm pleased to say that during the time that you were in DNPK, you used to be in my old lab at Astra. And it's Martial Lacroix, a former colleague of mine, who had introduced me to you, because at the time I needed to have some work to be done. And I was looking for quotations in places in the province, but it was ridiculous. If I share you the quotes that I got, it was ridiculous. So I was happy that Martial introduced me to you, because your quote at least was very reasonable, and we end up working with you. And now that you've grown into biology, I'm curious to see what biological aspects. So therefore, I'm going to be contacting you after the croissants, so that I can hear more of.
Yeah, Patricia, just to let you know, our biology group is 50 folks now and growing. It's just incredible growth. I mean, we have put together phenomenal folks in every area. So, and again, continue to grow about 20%. Thank you for the kind words, and the same way, hello to Martial Lacroix. He's a colleague from 1990 times, and it's way, way back, you know, Bike and Pharma time, you know.
That's right, Biochem, Pharma.
That's correct. That tribe is everywhere, unfortunately, fortunately.
Well, the roots are here in Montreal, so we stick together.
So this is exactly, so for me, just since you're saying that, so for me, I truly believe Montreal and Quebec has just amazing potential. It's just a matter of realizing it, matter of working at it. I really do believe, because I got a lucky breakthrough Bike and Pharma. I can never forget. So if I could just a little bit emulate that, that would be fantastic. Francesco Bellini and co, and they do just amazing, amazing job. So sure. So well, I'll say, vive la Quebec, whatever, long live Quebec.
Merci, Madame Laplante. So next question from Farida Abeishi.
Bonjour, merci. Thank you, Mr. Siddiqui, for your presentation. My name is Farida Habeshi. I work for Global Affairs Canada. I'm a trade commissioner. So I cover the biotech and pharma sector. I help Canadian companies in their international business development. So naturally, my question is, you know, we've seen your tremendous, spectacular growth with you talked a lot about your HR challenges and your growth there. My question is more in terms of international business development. How did you manage that, and what are your challenges with that?
So my international is United States of America. And tell you the truth, I did visit your trade commission in Boston too at one point, early days. I forgot the name of the person, just wanted to connect. But I mean, my actually kind of good thing happened to me was that I was 10 years in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which you know is a hub of biotech. This is where a lot of things happen. And I kind of have a huge network, I still do. And that was my BD, but obviously I have now help from folks like Sultan and others. So yes, Europe, not that much, but for now, primarily United States and Canada. So I mean, so Frida, I'll not say we manage it, which just happens to us. Let's put it this way. I'll be very honest and open with you. So, you know, we would like to do more of that, but we need capacity, you know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Merci. Alexandre, j'aurais une question pour vous. Tout à l'heure, ça a été mentionné que vous avez été le premier employé de Paraza. Maintenant, Paraza compte plus de 200 employés, donc je présume que ça demande quand même une bonne capacité d'adaptation, de passer à travers les différentes phases puis de voir l'organisation se transformer. Donc, est-ce que tu aurais un conseil à donner au jeune Alexandre que tu étais à l'époque pour passer à travers cette transition-là?
Ben, vous l'avez dit vous-même, le challenges are opportunities. Je pense que c'est exactement ce que c'est. C'est la meilleure façon de définir. Il faut garder en vue les objectifs à long terme, puis mettre la main à la pâte. Comment je pourrais dire?
L'épaule à la roue.
Les challenges qu'on a nous préparent à des défis plus grands. Toutes les tous les défis auxquels on fait face vont nous préparer à des défis encore plus grands. C'est comme ça que j'ai bâti ma carrière, en fait. Puis, au fil des années chez Paraza, évidemment, au départ, on porte plusieurs chapeaux. Je faisais des achats, je faisais un paquet de choses pour, en bout de ligne, me recentrer sur un travail plus scientifique. Mais aujourd'hui, je fais beaucoup de recrutement, en fait, en plus de mon travail scientifique. Donc, encore aujourd'hui, il faut s'adapter aux besoins de l'entreprise, puis mettre les efforts où c'est le plus en demande, en fait.
Comment c'est de revenir justement au volet plus scientifique après avoir fait différentes choses? Est-ce que c'est un peu comme le vélo, ça se perd pas ou
le volet scientifique a toujours été là, mais c'est sûr que c'est le centre de mon travail. C'est sûr que c'est là où est toute mon expertise. Mais oui, non, ça se perd pas. La partie scientifique demeure toujours.
Parfait, merci. Est-ce que d'autres personnes ont des questions? N'hésitez pas à ouvrir vos caméras, simplement lever la main. Je pense que Farida, vous avez encore votre main de levée, mais c'était probablement de tantôt ou c'est une nouvelle question? Non, c'est de tantôt. OK, parfait. Donc, we have a few thanks, Arshad, in the chat box saying thank you for this inspiring presentation.
Thank you. I mean, really, I mean, as I said, I'm the guy who's on a mission to promote Quebec in Canada. And if I can be of any help to anyone in terms of any guidance, any suggestions, I'll be very happy to do so. I mean, I'm very much available guy. Yeah. So, because I do believe Canada, Quebec, and Montreal, they have just incredible potential. Because having lived in the United States for that long, U.S. does a great job promoting and really capitalizing things. We need to do a great job too. We're here to make it work for us too, and we should.
And how have you done it during the pandemic? Have you had any trouble, not being able to cross the border maybe and reinventing the way that you have done things?
So for me, I'm both American. I mean, I'm American citizen and Canadian citizen. Obviously, I'm more Canadian citizen than American citizen. Trump got me into American citizenship deal because I knew that he will not let me cross the border if I didn't take that. So anyway, but it came very handy when there was a COVID time. So I was able to go to the United States because they did not care about too much COVID, but Canada did. So obviously I had to go through a lot of hassles at the border. Also, they did allow for so-called frequent travelers across the border for work purposes. So I managed it, but I said I now do every week. I've been doing every week before COVID. But I managed it. It was not every week, every other week, or every 3 weeks, but still I came through. Absolutely. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's what they say. So it made it work.
Yeah, and also Brigitte mentioned, that you're recruiting internationally, and also during your presentation, you said a few words about the immigration, that is very slow. So do you have any idea on how to maybe expedite the process or what should be done?
Well, I may have an idea, but nobody in the government is not going to listen to you. I can tell you this. So because, I'm not a critique of anyone. My goal, as I said, my basic passion is that we in Canada need to improve economies, need to employ folks. And really, we need to facilitate the processes. So 60 weeks, even folks in the United States, say somebody from France in the United States, they want to hire this person, it's minimum 3 months. 3 months is still a long time, okay? So my sense, because I was talking to a CEO who visited us from UK, and I can tell you one good example, and I was really happy to hear this, that United Kingdom, what they have the system is that they have a system whereby companies can register in the system. And then if you're registering the system to hire folks, then within 6 weeks or so, you can get the work permit, expedited work permit, which is really impossible in Canada. If they follow the British system, which they instituted recently, I think Canada and Canadian companies can do extremely well. So I'll say go with British system. That's what my advice. This I learned like 4 weeks ago.
Very good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe anyone, any other question before we end this this session? If not, I really want to thank you, the three of you, Arshad, Brigitte, and Alexandre, for this great presentation and also the discussion. The Café Croissant has been recorded, donc il a été enregistré. Il va être disponible sur YouTube et va être disponible non seulement aux membres, mais également à tous. Donc, on est très heureux de pouvoir le partager. Puis, la présentation aussi va être disponible, donc un lien va être envoyé. Et un mot de conclusion, so anything that you would like to say as a final word, Arshad?
Yeah, so what I will say is that my final words are that, first of all, thank you for participation, number one. Number two is that we in Canada and Quebec have a lot we can do. I think we can do incredible, ventures here. We have very well-trained society, highly credible teams here. So we can accomplish a lot. Only thing is we need to just go for it. This is what I'll say.
Yeah. Thank you. Et j'en profite également pour inviter tout le monde à notre prochain Café Croissant qui va avoir lieu le 20 octobre prochain. Donc, on va recevoir Carthagène qui vont venir nous parler. Alors, surveillez pour les inscriptions. Il va y avoir encore, parce que ça paraît pas, mais l'automne est déjà bien enclenché. L'hiver va arriver assez vite et on va avoir notre cocktail de Noël qui s'en vient encore une fois avec la Cité de la Bibliothèque. Donc, c'est quelque chose aussi à surveiller. On va commencer à en faire la promotion bientôt. Je vous remercie d'avoir été avec nous ce matin. Merci encore. Thank you again, Arshad, Brigitte, and Alexandre for being with us this morning. Really appreciate that. And I hope you all have a very good day.
Thank you very much.
Merci. Bonne journée.
Au revoir.
Merci.